I remember my first year of college at Georgetown, like only the European expats wanted to watch Formula One with me. But by the time I was graduating, like I was going over to my friend's house and people were piling up at 8 a.m. in the morning to watch Formula One. The demographics have changed a lot with F1 and on the backs of that too. I mean, 3 out of 4 new F1 fans are women less than 32 years of age. 42% of the fandom now is female. What you've seen is that the landscape around F1 has changed dramatically, but a lot of the media companies, frankly, haven't caught up to that. So I kind of had this idea, why don't we build the first premium media ecosystem that sits at that intersection of lifestyle, travel, culture, fashion, and global motorsport. Esses, the name, stands for the S-shaped turns on the racetrack, and it's kind of this place on the racetrack where precision and excellence and refinement come together because it's really where the driver's skill is tested. And to me, that I think reflects our ethos overall as a brand as well. How do we tell the stories of the sport, and the way they intersect with all of these amazing industries globally, and tell them, with a foundation in powerful storytelling editorially and incredible creative design. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful time. And I mean, it's kind of a dream come true for me.
What's up, everyone? I'm Ty Davis, your host, back with another episode of When the Life Gives You Lemons podcast. I am joined today by Ojus Jain. Ojus, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Do you want to give us a little bit, kind of like your background and what you do, where you're from?
Yeah, I mean, so I was born here in Nebraska, in Norfolk, but my family moved to Lincoln when I was pretty young. So I went to Lincoln Public Schools, and I graduated in 2017 and went to go study at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. at the School of Foreign Service there. And I studied international history and international finance, and had this really incredible opportunity coming out of university to be a senior sort of assistant and chief of staff to a very storied media executive in the media industry. His name is Justin Smith. He was the CEO of Bloomberg Media. He ran The Atlantic before that. He held very senior positions at other media companies like The Economist. And he was actually at the time leaving his position at Bloomberg to start a news company called Semaphore. And I got to be employee number 1 there and really learn how to build and scale a media company from the ground up. And I've been on this wild journey, but it's been a fun one ever since.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you have a little magazine called Esses, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the seed that kind of led you to build that brand company?
Yeah. No, it's hopefully getting bigger and bigger and won't be so little in the future. But in 2024, I kind of had this idea and this realization that Esses is a Formula One magazine, I should say, and we covered the culture and lifestyle around Formula One. But in early 2024, I kind of had this realization that as a Formula One fan myself, F1 had kind of been transforming from a sport that was frankly kind of fading into obscurity to being a sport that everyone is talking about. I remember my first year of college at Georgetown, like only the European expats wanted to watch Formula One with me or wanted to talk Formula One with me. But by the time I was graduating, like I was going over to my friend's house and people were piling up at 8 a.m. in the morning to watch Formula One. And this transformation, I think anecdotally, we've all kind of experienced too now with the F1 movie that came out last year and just the cultural momentum behind the sport in general. I mean, the demographics have changed a lot with F1 and on the backs of that too. I mean, 3 out of 4 new F1 fans are women less than 32 years of age. I mean, 42% of the fandom now is female. And what you've seen is that the landscape around F1 has changed dramatically, but a lot of the media companies, frankly, haven't caught up to that. There's a lot of legacy offerings that still reach a valuable audience, of passionate legacy motorsport fans, but there also needs to be media products out there that reach the new audience where they're at. And I think that's where a lot of the commercial momentum in Formula One is as well. And so I kind of had this idea, why don't we build the first premium media ecosystem that sits at that intersection of lifestyle, travel, culture, fashion, and global motorsport. And, S's, the name stands for the S-shaped turns on the racetrack. And it's kind of this place on the racetrack where precision and excellence and refinement come together, because it's really where the driver's skill is tested. And to me, that I think reflects our ethos overall as a brand as well. How do we tell the stories of the sport, and the way they intersect with all of these amazing industries globally, and tell them with with a foundation in powerful storytelling editorially and incredible creative design. So it's just been a wonderful, wonderful time. And I mean, it's kind of a dream come true for me, building this thing.
Right. No, I mean, I agree with that for sure. It's definitely a really cool industry to kind of be in. I didn't know much about it until that F1 movie came out. And then some of my teammates got into it. And then we were in Vegas over Thanksgiving this year, kind of around the time that the F1 race was going on.
Right.
So it was there crazy out there. Yeah. So no, it was really, really cool experience. Just kind of see how that stuff, because it's all so new. And so now I kind of wanted to just ask, so throughout the startup process of this company, S's, what were some challenges you kind of faced?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're doing a startup if you don't hear no a bunch of times.
Right.
I think one of the earliest challenges was being able to communicate my vision and find people who really believed in me. I mean, I don't come from a legacy of running media companies for decades myself. I'm young, and I was very lucky, though, to have people who did believe in me and who did see my vision and who did support me. And, I'm especially lucky that I have the community here in Nebraska, because despite the very global nature of our brand, I mean, we have readers now in 81 different countries. And, Formula One is such a global sport. I mean, they race in 21 different countries around the world. Like, we have really found support, and we've found the infrastructural support and the support from a capital perspective from the community here in Nebraska. And I'm very, very grateful for that, because, as a Nebraska kid myself, it means a lot to bring my community along with me on this journey. So I would say, as the company grows, there's all kinds of challenges that we face. But, one of the challenges that I've been, growing through myself is, I'm really learning to, trust my team, and I have the most trust in them. And, it's just now about me delegating and empowering them, to do their best work. And I'm so lucky to be working with such incredibly talented people. I mean, our creative director, Emma Roshan, she lives in Spain. I met her at my previous job. I mean, she's one of the most talented designers I've gotten a chance to work with. Tony Cowan Brown, who's our editor at large. I mean, she's one of the most defining voices in Formula One right now, and has over 6 years, and more independently built an incredible platform. And, now we're joining forces to really set a new standard, I think, for storytelling in the space. Our photo and our social media team is led by a guy named Hugh Brooks. I mean, he's very, very talented, and someone who I think really has his finger on the pulse. And our editor, Joey being Khan, helps us, run our journalism and our photographers around the world. And, of course, no business can be run without finance and operations. Right. And, I'm very lucky that one of my childhood friends, his name is Johnny, is a very successful entrepreneur and business person himself. And so helps me run, sort of the finances of the company. So, biggest growth, I think, for us has this year just been, building our team, building it intentionally, and now, running the company. I mean, they say companies come down to the people, and that's 100% true. And, that's something I take very seriously as my role as CEO.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you guys have a pretty amazing company and amazing team behind you, which is awesome. Earlier, you mentioned at Georgetown you studied international history.
Yeah.
Have you been able to kind of weave that history storytelling into your company at all?
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because storytelling is really at the core of everything that we do. When we think about the way we work with our subjects, the way we work with our photographers, the way we work with our illustrators that we commission. Everything comes down to the story that we're trying to tell and the human stories, most importantly, that we're trying to highlight, because I think that's what people are interested in these days. That's what captures their interest, it captures their attention, and it's the best way to communicate ideas, is through a story. So for us, that's something I, really emphasize with the team, but I think I bring with me from my historical studies, because in history, everyone gets bored when it's names and dates. No one likes those kinds of history classes, but the kind of conversations people do like are the ones where you learn through a story, and I apply that every day when we think about the editorial work we do at Esses. And, again, I'm very lucky that we have such talented writers and such talented voices that we do get to work with.
Yeah, that's really cool. Throughout your kind of growth of the company, how has a banking partner helped you grow with the Esses magazine?
Yeah, I mean, we're proud to be banking here in Nebraska as well, and I think with any small business, and any startup in particular, cash and capital is sort of the air that you breathe that keeps your company growing. And so having the right banking partner is so critical. Someone who understands your business, someone who can be a voice for you when you need maybe access to capital at a time for growth and a time for expansion. People who help you when the company may have cash to manage, park that cash in the right places to make sure that it's always working for you. And so as a founder and as a business owner, having the right banking partner is so critical. And for me, it's always about relationships. And so I like being able to pick up the phone and call my bank and have a relationship that with the person that I'm talking to, who helps me manage our money, And so having the right banking partner has been critical, especially for me as a first-time founder. I don't know what I don't know. And so having the right person that I'm working with, it's been instrumental to the journey.
Yeah. And as a follow-up question to that, in what ways or areas do you feel that banks can help their partners be more successful? You mentioned earlier, whenever me and you were just talking before we kind of started the podcast, something about Cash App.
Yeah. So, we have done a lot. So Visa and Cash App are title sponsors of a Formula One team, the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. And Visa and Cash App have been incredible partners to us as we've been building our platform. We have done everything from produce a documentary short film about the history of car culture in Miami and what it means for the Grand Prix to come out and debut it at a film premiere last year in Miami, to hosting a huge pop-up bazaar in Austin, to now last week in Miami hosting another massive car show where we brought over 1,500 people from the Miami community to celebrate car culture in the city, but also we blocked out the street next door and lined it with food trucks and created a place for people to celebrate local restaurants and local beverage companies. And, I think about Cash App and Visa and what they stand for as brands. They think so much about financial inclusion, and, Cash App in particular, they work so hard, I think, to bring people into traditional banking and financial systems that might not have previously had access to them. One thing that I thought was really cool about Cash App is, you can get your direct deposit into Cash App and get an advance on your pay if you need it, and for some people that might be the difference between, making ends meet over the next few days or not, and that's not a service most people who are outside of the banking system might have access to. So I think financial technology and banking partners are so critical to the growth of not only our economy, but our communities, and I think we're very lucky here in Nebraska that, we have so many banks who do play an active role in the community, who do see their responsibility as financial partners and take that seriously.
No, I agree for sure. One last question kind of before we wrap it up is, what is the lemon in your life that you kind of turn into lemonade? It could be in your career, your personal life. Just this is like a question we like to ask all of our people who come on the podcast.
I think it's. I got to take a second to think. I wouldn't quite say it's a lemon, but I see every opportunity or every challenge, I should say rather, as an opportunity to grow and as an opportunity to push myself through something that I might think I might not be able to do, but deep down I know I can. And this whole journey of starting my own company, of breaking into one of the most exclusive sports in the world. I mean, I didn't know anyone in Formula One before I started this company. And now we've worked with drivers, we worked with teams, major brands. Like, breaking into this sport was a challenge, but I looked at that challenge and I was like, bet,
Right.
And that's I think how I approach life. And that's how I think, again, maybe I've called it a lemon or whatever it is, but I know I've made lemonade. I think it's a really good question, but that's what immediately comes to mind if I had to answer it.
No, yeah, that's really awesome. So we brought you some of our Dayspring lemonade today. If you want to try it, we're gonna rate it out of 10. See what you think.
Okay.
You got some watermelon, orange, apple, and lemon in there. Can you taste all the fruits?
I definitely can taste the watermelon and the orange. I think the lemon, the apple doesn't necessarily
Right.
come through as strong, but I can believe it's in there.
Yeah.
But it's good lemonade. I can't say I reach for the lemonade myself, but I'll let the people who are more passionate about lemonade rate it.
Right. All right. That's fair. That's fair. I give it a 10 out of 10. Well, Ojus, thank you so much for joining us today and just giving your story. And we have a Esses Magazine actually here right in front of us. Y'all go buy y'all's magazines. And thank you again to all of our viewers for joining, and we'll see you next time.